I've just realised that I've got the candle production in full swing and I haven't shown you what I'm doing, the process of it, which I like to do to have a record of it. And you might be interested as well to see how I do these things. I'm not sure whether I'll do it again, but I did say that before, so we'll see. But anyway, it's been well over a year since I've done one of these candles. But it all comes back very quickly at what to do. So what I always do, depending on how many candles I got in the addition, is they usually cover the kitchen table and this little tea trolley here, and I have the small size on the trolley. They don't look very different in a picture like this, but they are smaller than the other ones. So I've laid them all out, and the next thing I do, just to show you what I've done, is I put all the little safety stickers on the bottom, which doesn't take very long. It's quite a nice thing to do. The very first thing I do is, I'm like, this probably make you laugh, but I wash the kitchen floor. But it doesn't get done that much, and if I do it whenever I make a candle, I know that that's this little ritual cleansing before I start. So that was done yesterday as well, which is no mean feat with all the bits and pieces I have to move first. And I do hoover. It's not as I don't clean at all. I must stress. So anyway, to get back to what I was saying, so after that, the next thing I did was I realised that because of the little disc in the bottom, raised disc in the bottom of each of the candles, which you can see like here, I couldn't just put a wick in the middle. Well, I probably could have done. But you'd lose a lot of wax around the bottom of the wick once it burnt down, which I didn't really want. And I like that you'll be able to see the rune as it burns down. So I realised I'd have to have 2 wicks each, which is not a bad thing. It helps them to burn nice and evenly. That's what I did. The last time I had 2 wicks was, I think, the sea charm candle, and the idea with that was leaping through the twin fires at midsummer. So that was another one that had 2 wicks. This time it is more of a practical consideration, but I think it's not a bad one either. So anyway, I've stuck the wicks in. I have those little wick holders and little sticky pads, as you can see. I haven't finished that job yet. That's the next thing to get finished, and they won't see how that one's crossing. It won't be, because what I do is I put a really thin little layer of wax in first, once I've obviously melted a batch of the coconut and rapeseed wax, and I blend in my essential oils for that batch. It doesn't make very many at a time, but what I'll be doing is not a whole candle at a time, but I'll be putting a little bit just in the bottom of lots of them. Well, however many it will do. It won't be doing actually one batch in a jug won't do that many, and it will just cover about, I don't know, a couple of centimeters or so, and that'll be enough. Maybe probably 2 or 3 centimeters, and that'll be enough just for me to then, while it's still pliable, that's the right word, I'll be able to separate the wicks and make them look over the top and make sure they're absolutely perpendicular, standing up straight and in the right place. And then as that sets, that will hold them in place for the next layer. And there'll be something put on top of that before the next layer is poured, but I'll keep that as a surprise and I'll show you that when we get to it. So I just thought you might like a little peep into the process, because once these are covered, obviously, they can't be uncovered again. So there's quite a lot to do today, but I'm really mindful that it's important to get outside as well and just have a little wander around at some point, which I shall be doing a bit later. But it's these kind of jobs which you do in stages. It's quite nice to tell myself, well, I'll just get this done or that done, and then I can have a little break. And in this case, it will be once I get these wicks in place, then I will actually start getting everything out for the actual candle melting and blending. That's when the kitchen gets completely full of stuff, because I use my little stove here and everything goes on the worktop. So that stage is much more disruptive. So I won't do that until I'm actually ready for it, but that will be a bit later today. So looking forward to that. The kitchen's not as light as the sitting room in the mornings, but this is where the candles are. So I thought I'll just show you before I get too much further where I'm up to today. So I'll just start at the other side actually. I was actually waiting for the aeroplanes to pass over. I seem to get an awful lot of military planes around here, but they just seem to circle around and don't actually go away completely. So I decided not to wait. So I know you can't smell the kitchen, but it does smell amazing with all the essential oils. So I did count up. I think there's about 13 different oils in the blend. There's rosemary, patchouli, carrot seed, and celery seeds. That's for the for the fenlands, and myrtle, which brides always traditionally carried. I'm sure my grandmother has myrtle in her wedding bouquet in the fens, and fennel, and that's from the cottage gardens. And there's a couple more I think, which I've now probably birch tar for the fires going up, and because I like birch tar, but it's conceptual as well, so that's good. Ylang ylang for the sweetness of the kind of rotten sweet of the water in the dikes. It's got that kind of sort of sweet, pervasive smell. Lavender again for the cottage gardens. Oh, cypress because of all the trees, all the Lelandii that people surround their gardens with to try and keep the wind off, which obviously smell of cypress as well. Well, it is a type of cypress tree, a Leylandii tree. I've got these smaller candles on the trolley here, and they are all completely poured. They've had their little special lucky charm put inside, and they've been filled to the top. So all I need to do now with these is to trim the wicks, just to give a little bit of a wick to light, but not too much of a wick, so it'll bend over taller than the candle itself. So that's just the last little job to do. But other than that, they're ready. And then on this side, you can see where I am. I've just done some of these, and these ones I've just poured, so that's why they're this colour, because they're molten still. And then as they set a little bit, I can just adjust the wicks to make sure that they're going up straight. As well, within reason, because obviously these are handmade candles, but with 2 wicks they should burn well anyway. But it's nice if they look a little bit symmetrical, well, as symmetrical as possible, really. So that's where I am with that. And then the stage before that, so I'm kind of working backwards, showing you, was where I've put the little charms on each of the. I put a little bit of wax in, as you saw earlier, and put the charms on top, so that and I put another little layer of wax on that will hold them in place, and then they'll get their final layer, as those ones that are full already have. So I thought I'd leave some of them like this just to show you. I was thinking about wedding cakes and how they've traditionally had little silver charms on them, or traditionally horseshoes. But because this is Fen Bride, I thought that she would have dragonflies, swans, and moons. The moon reflected in all the water there. So there are several different dragonfly charms, and not just one kind. I don't know if I can show you all of them, whether it'll focus on all of them. But there's some like that, and there's some bigger ones there, which is obviously quite random. So and no one will know what they've got until they get to that point in their candle. And then there are some circular ones like that, little roundels. And if I can find one, I'm sure I can. Oh yeah, I can see one that's quite near the edge here. There's a swan, and they're a bit bigger and heavier, the swans, but there's just a few of those just scattered here and there, so I won't know who's got what. They'll just get packed up, and it'll be a surprise when you get to that point, and that'll be your Fen Bride charm, imagining it being on her wedding cake. Here are the bottles in the box here. So every batch that I make, I put lots of drops in, actually, because you have to get essential oils don't have quite such a, although they're really, really strong and beneficial and therapeutic, the actual scent throw, as they call it, isn't as great as with artificial fragrance oils. So you have to use quite a lot, which makes it very expensive, but I think well worth it, because it's not just got natural fragrance, but it's also got these, every one of them has got its own therapeutic properties. And I'll just give you a quick look at my very Heath Robinson type setup. So I just melt the wax in here. That's my little container. Get my wax in from the other room. I break it up and put it in, and as it melts, I put some more wax in the jug until it's full. So it's very, very cottage industry. It takes a long, long time to do, but as I said, the kitchen just smells amazing, and it's actually going quite well. I'll have them all poured today. I'm determined to have them all poured today. Hello, a very warm welcome to the old shop. Unusually, I'm standing out here holding my camera and to say hello to you. So, just a really quick introduction today. I want to get on with showing you a few things that have been happening here in the back garden. Right, let's get started. I'm accompanied here by the sound of lawnmowers, but I don't think that can be helped really. It's just that kind of time of year when everyone's getting their grass cut. So I'll just have a quick whiz round and show you what's been happening or how it's looking more as much as anything else. The vegetable beds, which you may remember from other seasons, are well, they have been looking very much the worse for wear because the wood that was used when they were made was old wood that was lying around here, basically old floorboards and so on. And of course, they have very limited life. But one or two bits were much more sturdy, like this, which was actually old workbench out of the old shed that had to come down. And you can even see further down here, I know I'm digressing probably terribly, you can see these little saw marks on here from when it was a workbench, and you can even see just here maybe where the vice was set into it, which I really like. And that's still fairly sturdy, but some bits have had to be kind of reinforced, and I think you know, I think it's sort of seen better days. But the main thing is, as long as they hold earth, which they do, I can plant and sow into them, and there's nothing really more satisfying than getting your own vegetables into the ground. So that is what we've been doing, and there's nothing really much to show you in terms of them coming up yet. But believe me when I tell you, these little sticks are not sort of randomly pushed into the ground. They are actually marking rows of things like radishes, carrots, chard, spinach, beetroot, oh, uh, broad beans, or lots of things. And also in between every 2 or 3 rows, or maybe a little more, there's a row of flowers of one kind or another. Mostly because I had old seed left, or bits of old seed. So I thought it would make it look really pretty to mix the vegetables with flowers. Last weekend, which is when this was done, I left in the parsley because although it's going up to seed and like the beds, it's past its best in itself, but there's still a bit of parsley that can be used. So, and I know I've had some of it got up to seed as well. I can save the seed, which is obviously a good thing to do. And that's the flat leaf parsley. And in this bed, there's a bit of curly leaf parsley. And that just came from really humble beginnings last year, I have to say. And I'm using it a lot, so that's really good. And this bed here, again, you've got the sticks showing that it has been sown in rows there. Can't see any seeds coming up yet. Some of them were old seeds, and it's less than a week since they were put in, so I guess I mustn't be impatient. And this rake, is it a rake? Yeah, this rake here marks where the sowing has stopped. So there's the rest of this bed to do, and all of the other bed, and the other bed has still got sticks, like a wigwam was, you know, not quite a wigwam, but a structure, that's the word, from last year, which hasn't fallen down. So that's going to be good to put beans up again this year. Now the side beds I haven't done anything with yet, so we'll skim over those, although I can see that leaves have come back on things like the raspberries and blackcurrants, which is very good news. What we're going to do though, I think, is to walk around here. I really want to show you the apple blossom coming here. Now, isn't that a wonderful April sight, apple blossom? I just love it so much. This tree is it's not growing a huge amount, but it's still here. And I think that's the main thing. Whereas the one next to it here, and bear in mind they all started off really similar size to each other, and that was this little tiny sticks, tiny saplings, much less tall than me, much less tall, probably 3 or 4 feet high maybe. And this one is a cherry. It's not an eating culinary cherry. It's a wild cherry or bird cherry, and it's really happy here, incredibly so. Look at that blue sky and the blossom, cherry blossom. You can see why in Japan they have cherry blossom festivals, can't you? That's just beautiful. And actually, looking around me, a lot of the trees have suddenly put their, or it seems suddenly, put their leaves out. So we'll have a look as we go around, because during the winter I couldn't always remember what they all were. But now it's immediately obvious that this is a Gelder rose, although I did know that one, to be fair. And this one here is, I believe, it's a bit unusual. It's like a large shrub, really, but it's growing into a tree. It's called Juneberry or chokeberry, I believe, which is an unusual wild fruiting tree. But I've got a few wild varieties in, just partly for interest's sake and partly because why not? Well, I can see a little baby birch that's put itself here. Now that's interesting. I hadn't realised that. That's actually sown itself as a sapling. It's not one of my original 5 birch trees, which are all becoming quite silvery. So here they are. And because of having cleared the ground, well, certain things are coming back, but more or less, you can actually stand in this circle of 5 birches, which I don't think is probably very obvious while I'm standing in here, but that is the case. And even the woodland floor is becoming more like a woodland floor. I know there's lots of nettles coming up, but you've got the ground ivy here, which hugs the ground, as its name would suggest. And that is a nice forest floor plant. And there's some, I don't know how they got there, mind you, but I guess they've just got there by themselves. some forget-me-nots here. It's lovely. And dead nettles around the corner there, that purpley colour. And then we're not going to go around every plant because that would take too long. But we'll look at some of them now, and then next time we can look at some more if you'd like to. This one is, I believe this is the damson tree. There are several hazels, I mean, there really are quite a few, but I haven't had any nuts yet. I don't know whether they just take a lot longer to come into nut, so to speak, or whether there's something that's not quite right for them. I don't know. But there are quite a few, so I'd have thought if you needed more than one to pollinate, that wouldn't be the problem. Got a little table and chairs here, which is a good place for them because it does keep quite sunny here. I think we'll just focus on the trees today, and we won't look around the edges too much. It's probably just as well not to at the moment. But you know, things are getting done, and it's all coming on, and it's looking much more hopeful than at one point. I think we got some primroses here. They've been coming back. I put a few little clumps in here and there a few years ago now, actually, that I collected, and they keep coming back, which is very good. And we've got the alder trees, which I know I never forget which they are, but they are the happiest trees in the garden. These really tall ones here, and then actually this one here, you can see the cones from this last season, and the leaves are coming. Beautiful little baby leaves are coming as well. Another hazel. The canopy is just a tangle, to be honest, and then what I'm going to have to do, it's interesting sort of task to decide how to do it, but some of these smaller trees I think I'm going to have to thin out and give the larger ones a better chance of growing. They do like each other's company to an extent, but I think that was always the case that it's good to have a sort of shrub layer, and some of these trees would be quite well suited to that, like this here, which I think is a kind of dogwood. It looks as if it is. That, rather than letting it grow up into the branches of this tree, it would be a good idea to cut that down about, I don't know, maybe about there. I step back, and then that would become a shrub layer. You can see everywhere that there's lots and lots of periwinkle or sorcerer's violet, which I absolutely love, and it's just everywhere. And it was just two little strands I brought back from the woods. That's it. And it's just completely, I mean, some people will say, it's taken over, and it kind of has, but it might just as well. I'd rather have that there than everything being thistles and nettles. So, and they are very beautiful, and they're very magical as well, as the name Sorcerer's Violet would suggest. So I've left the thing until last, which is most different since the last video, and that is, there's now some grass. So this grass it was turf just put in this corner here, which we did quite a few weeks ago now, actually. Can't quite remember. It was March sometime, early March, I think. Yes, it was. And it's already knitting together because it was just squares of turf, and it's growing, which you can see there's actually like proper growing grass here, and you can still see the joins a little bit in places, and it is very up and downy because it wasn't done in the way that people, you know, perfectionist kind of ways. So there's lots of dips and bumps and hollows, which befits a country, you know, the kind of look here. Around the edges, we've had no rain for absolutely ages, and it is not looking very happy at the edges, and it does need watering again. And I think, you know, that's just a fact of life, that it's going to take a bit more establishing around those edges. But let's not look at them. Let's look here, where the grass is really looking like a proper lawn. And I can't leave the garden without looking at a bit of the blossom. And these are just things that happen by themselves, so I take no credit, but how lovely. This is another one of those, I think it might be a different kind. There's another one of those June berries or chokeberries, I believe, anyway, I think so. I don't always feel I need to know about these things, I just enjoy them. This is a fig tree, I can tell you that. And it's getting its leaves, which is really nice. And here we have a really lovely pear tree. And this is a beautiful pear tree, in fact. It's a comice, which is one of the pears you often do see around. It's not an unusual variety, but they're quite tender and it likes the shelter of a wall, I was told. And of course, there is a wall, have a wall. So that was such a good place for it. And as you can see, it's completely full of flower this year. And there's a cherry tree behind it, which needs a bit of work to move things from in front of it. But that's a cherry tree, and that's an actual culinary eating cherry as well. And there's a couple of other trees with blossom here as well. That's I think that one's an apple. That one, it really does want moving basically, but I will do that. Oh no, there's a pet. No, it's not. It's a plum. I remember what this one is. It's a plum. Yes, it's a golden plum, in fact. But I wasn't actually going to show you the side gardens because they need such a lot of work. I can see what they need doing to them, but I've been really busy, and with what we're doing, the candles, and also I spent a lot of time writing my Substack, which if you're interested in reading, I will link below, because I do put a lot of my time into that writing. I get a bit carried away with it, and then the videos suffer, and I do really enjoy sharing things with you in the videos, so I need to get better at time management. And I'm not sure where to finish this video, what to show you at the end. I want to show you something really uplifting. Let's see what we can find. Well, what I've decided to finish with is in fact not a plant at all. And you might think it's not uplifting because it's all looking a bit scruffy around it, but just the sound of that little tinkling wind chime, which I shall just leave you with. I find it so beautiful and so calming. I love it.